All right, mate, how you doing? Welcome back to another video. Seems like a long time since I've said this, but today we're talking about the Wembley Cup. I've got my brother Seb with me, who knows a lot about every Wembley Cup that's ever happened. Less so the first one, but every single one since then he's played a major part on and off the pitch. So you ready to talk about Wembley Cup?
I'm ready, mate. It's been a while.
The main thing we're talking about, unfortunately, I'm sure a lot of people will be wishing this was us saying it's coming back. We're actually talking about why it hasn't come back.
Yes.
And why we might not ever see it again. I don't know, to be honest. But certainly there's no plans to bring it back currently. We'll talk a little bit later on about the fact that the Sidemen are going to do another game as well and our thoughts on that. But let's talk about the Wembley Cup. Why hasn't it come back? We did 4 of them. Unbelievable that we did 4 of them. The first one we did was behind closed doors, obviously 2015. It was an idea that I had for a sort of soccer aid style event. I haven't really talked about this much before, but the original idea I took to YouTube and then we ended up pitching to brands to sponsor was actually to take me, a load of the Sidemen boys and other different YouTubers that played football to Vegas to try and play in this Vegas tournament I heard about. And you give everyone a holiday, they get a great experience out of it, we make content. And then we got introduced to EE and they were like, well, we've got Wembley. And I was like, I didn't think that was an option. So that's how it ended up being the Wembley Cup. It's a very, very simplified version of it. First one behind closed doors, great success, 18 to 19 million views on YouTube. It might have more now, I haven't checked in a while. Yep. That's all obviously not live streamed. Second year it went up a level. Obviously the whole premise was taking football influencers and whatnot from YouTube world, giving them a chance to play in this great game. Then it became come and watch us play at the stadium, opened up the doors. We had 24,000 people, I think, the second year. Yep. We had ex-pros playing, which was a new thing for the second year.
Big names, yeah.
This is the kit from the second one, 2016. We had Kluivert, Schmeichel, JJ Okocha, Robbie Fowler, Jamie Carragher, forgetting someone, Robert Perez, of course. And then we had a very similar, a lot of the people from the first year. We also had, you got involved this time, you played for us. You scored.
Scored a goal, yeah.
One of my favourite moments ever.
Me too.
The celebration, the
still
goal
my
thing.
pinned tweet on Twitter, that's still.
It's going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to beat.
And that was a great success. And then we went again for the third year. It went even bigger, 34,000.
Beck, Steven Gerrard.
Steven Gerrard got involved. Heskey, Fowler came back again. David James.
Scott Pollock.
William Gallas, Scott Pollock, man of the match.
Crazy.
34,000 people in the crowd. Highest crowd I've ever played in front of. Highest crowd everyone that wasn't a pro has played in front of. Probably still maybe still the highest crowd Scott Pollock's played in front of, actually.
Yeah, it would have been, yeah.
There's no crowd for his playoff final.
No.
He's in League One, by the way, now. Northampton went up.
What a journey.
Remember the name.
Back to Wembley, from Wembley to Wembley.
He's basically
that's
second
the name
home.
of Scott's book, From Wembley to Wembley.
Yeah, back to Wembley. And then we did a fourth one. The fourth one was actually the 5th time we'd played at Wembley because we all got to play there separately as hashtag in a different game. Again, hashtag were involved in this one. And it was a tournament. It changed the format up completely. So in this video, we're going to talk about why did we change the format up? Was it successful? Why is there not another one?
Yes.
Okay. So I've got a few notes here.
Okay.
But let's start at the end, really. Why did it stop? Now, there's a load of reasons for this. The first, and we actually haven't got a definitive answer. Like, there's not ever a discussion between us and, for example, EE, the brand that supported it from day one, who deserve a lot of credit. There was never a conversation to be like, we're not doing them again.
No.
So I'll never say never. But ultimately, if we start with EE, see it from their perspective, they spent a lot of money on every single series. And it was a series. It was a lot of content, right?
A lot of content, big production budget, big logistics budget. Because even though they were the title sponsor of Wembley Stadium, as soon as you open the gates up to the paying public, that no longer was part of their sponsorship, but they get a corporate every year. That then is TFL are involved, Met Police are involved, huge amount of additional costs from the stadium, which they have to pay for.
Yeah.
So huge costs.
Huge risks, because you never know when you do that, when you commit to it, you don't know how many tickets you're going to sell.
Exactly. So yeah, they are, unbelievable. They won, or we've won as a collective for those things. Many brand campaign awards, Brandcast, the big Google
I've got one up here.
campaign.
That one there, look.
There it is, right there.
I'll get it on camera.
Get that shot.
Wembley Cup. This is a YouTube ads leaderboard, #1 ad, September. I mean, it was run as an ad. A lot of the Wembley Cup stuff as well. That's another whole side of the campaign. People could often see Wembley Cup content before other videos, but obviously, in many ways, there's a lot of advertisement throughout the series, which is EE. Yeah. It's a very clever form of advertisement, whereby the brand is actually bringing you something you want.
Bring you value. And that's why
you don't have without them.
So Spencer McHugh, the former brand director, he was involved from the beginning when the whole thing was conceived. He's gone on record to say it's their most successful brand campaign ever. There was an independent Google think tank case study outside of EE, outside of us, that show all the stats for how well it performed with an advertising hat on. Obviously, that's the best thing. Is to me, it never felt like an ad. Like in YouTube, there's many times where you do adverts or you do sponsor spots. That was EE giving us our footballing dreams.
Yeah.
And if they can benefit from that by bringing joy to football fans and making themselves relevant to that key market that watch our content, wow, that's just a win-win, right?
Obviously, EE and BT bought EE, so for the last 2 years, it was tied into BT Sport as well. So an obvious sort of relationship.
BT Sport, EE customers get BT Sport free on the phone. There you go. There's a little call to action from back in the day.
Still doing it.
Still doing it. I've still got it on my phone.
Yeah, and people don't know this, but there were so many meetings, particularly towards the end with you, but in the beginning with me, sitting down with creatives at an agency called Poke, who are the kind of middleman between us and EE, that would do a lot of the legwork in creating the concepts about how do we make this thing cool? Like, how do we make it? What do EE get out of it? But what do we get out of it? What do I get out of it as a creator? I want cool content on my channel. That was always all I was doing it for. Obviously, experience as well. Getting to play at Wembley is never a bad thing. Yeah, how do we make something that the viewers feel this is amazing? I want this. It was never, how do we make an advert? I brought the idea to a brand. I said, can you do this? What can I give you in return? So it's great. And it's great that we got to do it 4 times, because you have to, first of all, succeed to do it on a second time. And again, we constantly went in the right direction.
The level of investment in resources and, of course, budget that EE had to do, for them to come back 4 years running is just a testament to the level of support, but also a testament to the success of the series, that they wouldn't keep coming if it wasn't working for them in some way. And people wouldn't have kept watching if it wasn't working. So, I mean, there's 2 sides to every coin. There are a lot of other things that we could reveal to people, maybe from the behind the scenes, about some of the challenges putting on a big series like that, because there are many, believe me, and they ultimately do lead to some of the reasons why maybe it won't return. But ultimately, it's the best thing that, you know, the scale. People don't actually realise. Forget about the game at Wembley with 30,000 people watching, millions watching, peak concurrent viewerships like of hundreds of thousands of people. Like, it's a serious thing. Just some of the meetings, mate, let alone on set, where you have maybe 30, 40 production teams, sometimes all the additional bits. But I remember being in a room, like the head office of Cake, one of the other agencies, with the guys from Publicist, Poke, EE, everybody. And it was like literally a war room. Like this huge boardroom, everyone sitting around thinking of ideas, like a week out from the event happening. I remember being in there, just being like, how has it got to this? It's massive. Such a big undertaking.
And people don't realise how soon the first Wembley Cup came in the history of my channel as well. Like, I've been a couple, as Spencer FC, obviously it was rebranded. I had only been going a few months. It was a few months, and suddenly the Wembley Cup kicked off. So it was amazing for me in that first year, or the first Wembley Cup. Over a 3-week period, I was the 3rd most subscribed to channel on YouTube.
Amazing.
I think I gained something like 300,000 subscribers in 2 or 3 weeks from the first one. It was mega. It got me very close to that first million. And it's amazing. One of the best things we've done, 100% hands down. Amazing for me, they kept doing it. For me, and there's lots of other reasons you've alluded to there that I want to get into, because it's not just about that. But from the brand perspective, what you have to understand is what EE got out of it. It was exposure, right? It was exposure. It was people getting involved in their promotions, whatever. And they needed to maximize them by making a series of content as opposed to just the final. It also served really well to create anticipation for the final, got people up for it. So we'd always come up with creative ways to make a format. You know, Manny got a bit of stick the first year, right? There's so much stuff about Wembley Cup we could go into. Honestly, you could do a series of podcasts about Wembley Cup. Got a stick in the first year for being a traitor, which was a creative concept we used, because it was actually to fix a problem. It wasn't like that was always the plan. Manny was on my team. There was some complaints from the other opposition that their team wasn't strong enough. So we thought, how can we acquiesce this? Can we give you Manny? They said yes. So then we decided to create a competitive way, a convincing creative way to make this. We did this whole, we didn't think people would take it so seriously, and it went out, and then Manny was getting like hate, and I was like, guys, just to be clear, this was like just for fun. We asked Manny to go to the other team because they were not happy with their side. That and many other things do revolve around the F2 freestylers. One of the reasons that they weren't happy is that first year we had Billy and Jeremy on my team. We all wanted them to be separated. We all wanted Billy to be on one, Jeremy to be on the other. It makes obvious sense.
Would have been ideal.
Because they are good footballers, and they're obviously, if one team has both, it's a bit of an advantage. They would not do that. That was non-negotiable for them to be part. They had to be on the same team. And then for EE to get what they wanted out of F2, they needed to be in the series, because we couldn't get the Sidemen guys. For good reason, they're very busy. Even back then in 2015, we couldn't get them to come to the episodes. We just couldn't get it done. They then had to be on our team. F2 had to be on Spencer FC. This is the first Wembley Cup, because that's what got them in the episodes. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. That's why they ended up on my team. So let's fast forward. Actually, we've gone ahead of ourselves here. Going back to the EE thing, it got harder every year to get people to come out to the episode shoots, because people are so busy. If you're saying just come to a game, like the Sidemen do, to be fair, for their game, just come to the game and play, everyone's going to do it.
Yeah,
everyone wants to do it.
The experience of playing at Wembley.
Yeah, it's so fun. I mean, you'd be surprised actually. Some people,
there are one or two that didn't want to do it.
People that make football content, you just think they'd want to play at Wembley. It wasn't always the case, but every year it got harder because people had done it. Second year, like, why have I got to do this again? Even though they're getting paid, everyone was getting paid. It wasn't necessarily the same sort of money they might get for another brand campaign because we had obviously budgets and people don't know how much EE spent on putting that together, on advertising it. They're talking millions of pounds were spent on Wembley Cup over the 4 years, easily. So it got harder every year. We had to get more creative. First year, it was me versus Sidemen. Second year, we couldn't get the Sidemen in the same way. So it was me against Weller. And we did me and Weller building his teams, throughout each episode. Third year, hashtag got involved for the first time in the third year. Some people,
which was crucial really to being able to do a third one.
Some people were probably annoyed to see it. Some people probably thought it was straying away from the kind of creators, random teams put together. We were a team, we'd played more together. 100% get it. What people don't understand is hashtag saved.
I mean, I can maybe talk a little bit about that because we obviously every year we got, almost straight away, guys, what we're doing next year from EE. It's like, oh, amazing. We're going to keep doing this. It's great. But we have to find a way of making it work. And ultimately, there's a budget that's there, right? Which is all the things, which is logistics, production, talent budget, getting the other YouTubers to come in and be available for the shoots and promote the content, etc. And ultimately, as the whole thing got bigger and bigger, so did all the creators. So the budget just goes less far, right? Everyone gets more expensive. There's no problem with that.
Look at the Sidemen alone.
Exactly.
This isn't throwing anything at them because there's lots of other people as well. But the time, the amount they grew from 2015 to 2018.
So ultimately, you have to get more for your buck. So if you were to make 2 teams of superstar YouTubers across the same talent budget, there just wasn't the room, right? So ultimately, we had to try and get that budget to stretch for one team because we knew at that point, Hashtag United was up and running, it was thriving. Obviously, we'd love Hashtag to be involved, but without Hashtag being one of the teams where it wasn't full of YouTubers who were going to demand or who would be justified big fees, you couldn't get 2 teams out of the budget.
We essentially took the talent budget. Instead of having to pay a squad of 30 people, we did a squad of 15.
Equally as well, I think it's completely legitimised by the fact that how weird would it have been for Spencer FC to play in a game as a Spencer FC team when you had your own football team, this hashtag? Why would you not play as your own football team that you play in? Why would you, bear in mind, at that point, every week or every other week, we're uploading hashtag content, and then all of a sudden you play in this other team full of other guys. It was the complete natural evolution, but it just so happened behind the scenes, it was logistically imperative for the series to happen to be able to make it. And I thought it was quite cool because then also, one of the biggest challenges you have every year at the Wembley Cup is you've not only got to get, and you talked about it a bit already, the big enough names, the big enough pull, clout on the pitch to make it viable as a campaign, but you've got to make the teams even. So if you were to make a team full of YouTubers, there obviously is a range of people of reach size, but a range of people of abilities. If you had to create one YouTube superstar team, that's how you do it. You get all of them on one team, right? So as the F2 Freestylers, as one of the biggest footballing YouTube channels with the best football players, they go and put the team of superstars together to take on Hashtag United.
That was the concept, and it's easy to look back and say, we won the game 6-1? 6-1 we won the game against Tekkerstown, right? Yeah. It's easy to look back and go, we played more, we were going to win. The 11s, compared, on paper, it wasn't like that. It just wasn't like that. They had Cian Garnier, played for PSG, Cian Garnier, right? They had Billy Wingrove. They had Jeremy, one of the most talented players in the Arsenal Invincibles era.
They had Steven Gerrard, who just retired. Right? Just retired, Steven Gerrard.
They had all these top players, even people like Chris MD, good footballer, right? Yeah. We had I was in my university C team, a third team at university. We had boys that never got anywhere near a university team. We had Rich Beck, Sam Adams. These are Sunday League players. The reason we won is because we wanted it a hell of a lot more. Yeah. We cared about each other on our team. We organised.
Do you know when talking a little bit about it on a level, actually on a footballing level? I knew we'd won the day we turned up. And remember we went in the Holiday Inn before.
Ironically, this is another mention of a different WhatsApp group.
Yes, true. Maybe more on that later, or maybe that's for another video. I don't know. Yeah. But I turned up and we knew, and we had the big team meeting. And bear in mind, I'm playing a very unique role, as you are in the Wembley Cup, where I'm involved in the logistics and the planning of almost everything. But I'm also friends with, hashtag, I'm also friends with a lot of the opposition, right? But I, on match day, turn into more of Seb, the footballer wants to win mode. Yeah. And I played a few mind. I was like, guys, we had Stevie G's pulled out on the day. I remember winding up Chris MD and saw his face absolutely drop because he thought he wasn't going to get to play with Stevie G anymore. That was all a wind up. But in the team meeting, we found out that they didn't even create, the boys didn't even create a WhatsApp group for the players. Imagine playing in a game at Wembley Stadium, that many people watching, as a team, not only have never played together before, but not even having like a WhatsApp. Like, if you're managing that team, surely the first thing you do is make a WhatsApp group for the team to all chat and get together and get up for it. They've never even made that. Literally all just turned up randomly on the day. Yeah. I was like, forget about it. They don't know what's about to come for them because we have done all this and now we're going to try and win.
It's easy to say we played together loads. At that point in our history, we played one game a month. No training. One game a month. We probably played like 10 games or 12 games. I don't know what it was. Yeah. And they could have prepared more if they wanted to.
Of course they could.
No one stopped them doing
not to.
So that's the third one. And then by the time we get to the fourth one, the budget's actually smaller. And we had to... We couldn't get people in the same way.
Well, we had to find a model that worked for everybody, right? So what we then have to do is find a way that gives... the EE will go for, right? So again, if we just do a repeat of last year, well, what happened? It was 6-1. So clearly, is anyone going to get excited? Us or the viewers in watching #United, who have now kicked on again and improved a bit more, take on a team that's beating 6-1. That wouldn't have been an interesting proposition, right? So there's no team to take on # on YouTube. So what do you do? Because you've got to combine the intrigue of the viewer to see their favourite YouTubers on screen, but also make it a competitive game. So we tried to create a model that celebrated the fact that Wembley Cup's been the vehicle for this YouTube football community or YouTube football movement to come about. And you've got these other teams now out there. F2 have started to create their own team. You had Cal and his Rebel team. You had all these other teams come up. These other YouTube groups like XO. Can we create a tournament that not only allowed to get the personalities we need to get in the series, but to create a structure that was exciting and mean that the people get excited about seeing it being competitive? Because I think that's what the Wembley Cup's always been. That's different from like the Sidemen charity game, which is amazing in its own. That's a celebration of YouTube. That's a lot of fun. I'm sure they all want to win on the day, but ultimately it doesn't really matter.
I've been involved in one. Did win it as well.
Yeah, there you go.
Then didn't run that tournament, so... Join the dots. No, basically, I did take that very seriously. I gave a bit of a team talk. Like I said, I've played in these games before, boys. This is how we should do it. And, Billy and Jeremy aren't invited to Sidemen games. They might be the next one, I don't know. But I think because they want to keep a certain level.
Yeah.
These guys are good footballers.
Yeah.
And they want to keep it at a certain level. So that's a different kind of game completely. But by the time we get to the fourth Wembley Cup, it's clear to see the format changed, not because of a desire to change it, not because we didn't want to do games of YouTube anymore, because we had to. The only way we could do it. We had to find a way of motivating people, big creators, F2, Cal, whomever, XO boys, to basically do things they would normally do for more money, for less, because there was something in it for them. It gave their channels and their teams a platform. Speaking about platforms, the F2 Freestylers team, F2FC, was only formed off the back of the third Wembley Cup, where they even used the interview at the end, which they went on to use post-match interviews in a different way in the fourth year, to launch F2 FC. They said that's when they launched it, and they went and played some games. I don't think they exist anymore. I don't know what's going on with it. But for the fourth Wembley Cup, it was very different. I was a little bit let down by that format, I'll be honest. We were made certain assurances about the games were not exciting enough. There was one goal in most of the games.
There was two big reasons for that, right? We designed that format to have these different rules, the man-down rule, which I think is fantastic still. We got screwed by Tottenham. Tottenham screwed us there because Tottenham Stadium had all these problems. They had to move into Wembley Stadium, which meant not only the date of the game got moved many times, which messed around with all the planning,
ticketing.
But it meant we couldn't go from each group game being an hour long, it had to be half an hour long. So our game length got halved.
We were made certain assurances that if certain games didn't go to man down, we'd use those minutes to make the final longer.
Yeah.
In the end, we only were allowed to have 3 30-minute games, which is always going to be tight for goals. It made the games very tight and less enjoyable. The good thing about these games normally is there's loads of goals. The first Wembley Cups proved that. 5-1, was it 6-3, 6-1, I think the next 3 score lines were. So we lost that entertainment factor. It was much more competitive than the other games. Every single team really wanted to win because and this is something I've talked about in my book, something I've also talked about many times online, in that when the competitive sport came into YouTube collaborations, the collaboration of like, I'll help you, you help me, let's be mates, just went away. And it became like, if I lose this, I'm actually going to lose something. So I don't like you, I don't want to lose. And there's a lot of lessons learned of us in the Palmers thing. And I'll be honest, we didn't have that mentality by the time the fourth Wembley Cup came around.
Almost the opposite.
We were in non-league. We were already up and away doing our own thing. By the way, we didn't register a lot of players for the fourth
That's the thing people don't realise is that
I played in it. I wasn't playing in the team.
If we wanted to do everything we possibly could to win the last Wembley Cup, we would have probably had 5 different players in our squad. But that wasn't the goal.
Well, also, another thing to categorise the fourth Wembley Cup is I also wouldn't have played. Yeah. I said to EA, how many times did I say before, I really don't care about playing a minute in the fourth Wembley Cup. Yeah. One of the reasons we did it was to give people that had been involved in hashtag even before
the experience,
the chance to play. For example, Wes Tanser, he never got to play in the third Wembley Cup. He didn't make the squad. So we made sure he got involved in the fourth one. He was nowhere near our first team squad. I only played out of a contractual obligation. I'm not trying to say I'm too big time. Of course, I love the idea of playing. It was a different time. It was a different thing. You didn't play. No. You bloody arranged the whole thing.
That was tough.
And you didn't play. And I had to be the one to tell you can't play.
I mean, that's ultimately that's the thing that's probably the most frustrating. And you've sort of alluded to it a bit there, is that this thing turned from being like just all about joy and giving people experiences, ourselves included, these amazing things, and then the need to evolve it in order to keep doing it. People don't understand. Like, some people were critical, and I think their criticism of the event is justified.
Format,
but they don't understand that without those changes, it just wouldn't have happened.
No.
So, like, for example, we did the draft mode where the teams got an individual superstar like Stevie G and an extra creator like Chris MD. Now, people think everyone wants to see Chris MD play. What you've got to realise is Joe Weller was XO, wasn't he?
Joe Weller was Rebel.
Joe Weller was Rebel, right? It's a perfect example. What you got to think about then is Cal has a football team that play every week, and all his friends from Rebel all want to play in the biggest game in the club's history at Wembley Stadium, right? Then he's got Joe, who also wants to play. And Joe has been part of the Wembley Cup from the beginning. I think he was in the first year as well, right? Yeah. So you've got the audience wanting Joe to play, but then Cal's got the balance of bringing Joe into his team, wanting to win the game, and also being fair to his current team. So you can't just put on all the YouTubers in the draft. Maybe that's what the audience want to see.
We've also got a 30-minute game. Yeah, from our perspective, we went 1-0 down. So Devs, who's managing it, is like, I've got to do something to win this game. Yeah. But he's also got to sub Chris MD on. No disrespect to Chris, good player.
Chris is a fantastic player.
But he wasn't part of the hashtag makeup, so Devs probably wouldn't have first
It's so tough.
That format works if the games are 60 minutes or more. It can't work on 30 minutes. Wembley would not let us use the pitch enough. One of the reasons they wouldn't is because Tottenham was still playing there. They were so worried about... The NFL badge was still on the pitch as well. It was nowhere near the same Wembley experience.
Previously, we'd done the Wembley Cup as the day after the FA Cup final.
That first Wembley Cup was the best pitch I've ever played on, not just because it's Wembley. Even groundsman said to us, this is a AAA pitch, i.e., because it's the day after the FA Cup final, Arsenal Villa, I think it was, or United Villa, I can't remember, 2015. This is the best pitch you'll ever play on in terms of grading. And the last Wembley Cup was not in the same ballpark. No. I'm never going to complain about playing at Wembley.
It's still better than anything we're
It's better than non-league.
Yeah.
But it's just saying it changed. Yeah. And so I think there's some format points. So as a result of those format points, as a result of the game being moved to late November or whenever it was, the weather being worse, it was on a Sunday instead of a Saturday, all these things.
In winter, not summer.
People less wanted to travel for it. We only had, we had 22,000 people there, which was still the second most I think we'd had, but it was less than the year before. Every other year it had gone bigger. We got more views or more people in the crowd, and this year it dropped down. I think that's because we had less sort of star power in terms of creators involved, but also that the format changed. It wasn't the same. People weren't going to see the KSIs and whatnot.
Yeah.
So there are reasons why I say from a business perspective, there's never really been a conversation between us and EA about doing another one.
No.
But to be honest and to be really frank, and this is part of the kind of wanting to share more with you guys going forward on the channel, we didn't want to do another one. I don't want to do another one like the last one.
Well, the thing is, it would have been very difficult to do one. Going back to the initial model doesn't really work anymore, and the previous model doesn't work anymore. Well, you got to think about
none of those teams exist.
One of the things
none of the other teams that we played in the Wembley Cup exist.
Well,
XO, in fairness, were never a team. They put it together for the tournament. Great lads, good friends of ours. Rebel don't exist anymore. And I don't think the F2FC exists anymore.
I'm not sure. You can't do the same model again. I mean, the thing that frustrates me most about all that is how people are never going to, not everyone will ever believe us on this, but the amount of times you and I have private conversations making decisions to the detriment of ourselves, to the detriment of hashtag, to the detriment of you as someone running content on your channel, in order to try and make that happen, to allow other people to do it. And on occasion, people said things that intimated the complete opposite. And that really hurts, because if we were trying to do some of the things that they say we're trying to do, we'd have just done it, believe me.
Oh, 100%.
We'd have just done it, guys.
The thing about Seb and I is we're very competitive, right? When you get on the pitch with us, we're going to do whatever we can to win. I'm not ashamed to admit that. But you do not understand how much we tried to lose the Wembley Cup.
Yeah.
Ever since the first year.
We had a conversation the night before the game, and we said, you know what? We best lose tomorrow.
It probably exists, that conversation. We can probably find it.
Probably does.
And that's every year from the first year. Because in the first year, I was accused of match fixing, but of putting the teams in my favour. And because I had Billy and Jeremy, I've explained already in this video why it was thrust upon me. I love a challenge. I love being an underdog. I'm a West Ham fan.
We love to win, right? But we don't like hollow victories.
No, I'd much rather lose, try my best.
100%.
And I would have rather lost that first Wembley Cup.
And it'd be a challenge.
If I had known what was going to get thrown at me. We won it. So second year, and this is a little bit of a narrative through here. And the F2 are involved in that narrative. And it's partly because they are at least perceived to be like the best two footballers in the space. So whoever they play for gets an advantage. Whether you agree with that or not, that's the case. So second year, I said, I don't want the F2. It wasn't even a discussion. I said to EE and Poke before anyone was reached out to, do not put the F2 on my team. It makes, whoever I've got, it'll make me the favourite. I don't want to be the favourite. If we win, I want to win it on the I'm like, what a battle. Not, it's got the F2. So the F2, never a discussion, went to Weller Wanderers. They both get injured. Okay, one of them gets injured. The other one opts to bring an injury operation forward. So they both miss it together. I think it was Jeremy who brought his operation forward. Billy needed to have, had a hernia or something, some stuff going on. There's a legitimate injury there, and there's a legitimate operation that had to happen, 100%. But they opted to have them at the same time. I think because they had a lot of other obligations, right? They've got their own career to do.
About the same time,
Just before we go any further into this, I do want to say one thing. There is an obvious elephant in the room when it comes to the F2, right? And what happened in the last Wembley Cup. I'm happy to address it. It's not going to be in this video. I've deliberately not talked about it out of a mixture of professionalism and also not wanting to be seen as a sore loser, because I think it's really important to lose with grace. And we did lose that last Wembley Cup, not to them. We beat them when we played them.
3-1,
yeah, to Rebel. And I wanted out of respect to people, I didn't want to talk about it. And also, I was going through a pretty tough time in my life around then. I ended up breaking up with Alex, not because of losing that game, but I didn't want any negativity.
You are back together now, though.
We are back together. But we've talked about this at the time. I didn't want any negativity in my life. I was like, you know what? There's a really negative presence in my life. Someone saying stuff that is bang out of order. I can sit there and make this content and try and get views off the back of it, or I can just walk away. And people thought my silence meant that I was guilty in some way.
That was frustrating.
I'm here to say there is zero guilt from us, and I will stand, I will make the video, I will show the WhatsApp group.
That's the weirdest thing, right?
That's the funniest thing.
That whole comment about the WhatsApp group, like, I mean, if we showed that WhatsApp group, we won't come out looking bad, trust me.
Let me know if there's enough demand.
That is so bizarre that he
Drop
said
a like on this video. I don't know if we should set a target or something, but I have got no issue, if you guys want to see it, showing you every set word said in that WhatsApp group, because you'll see how much we tried to run a proper tournament. The ultimate problem is, this comes along everything, is no one ultimately trusted us to run a fair tournament. Doesn't matter if we were doing it or not. We never got judged on our merits. We were told because we won, we'd done something wrong. So in the second Wembley Cup, I tried not to have the F2 boys. They both opt to not play or get an injury. I then do a switch. I give Jimmy Conrad to Weller, who's going to be on my team. I say, right, let's try and sort your defence out then. We give him Jimmy Conrad. It happened. By the way, this all happened like a week before the game. And I'll tell you one thing. I thought it was a poor move that neither of them came. I don't think Billy could have come. He was in hospital. But a lot of people bought tickets to see those guys. No one can dispute how big a name they are. Jeremy went on, I think, this morning or something to promote their book with a crutch without Billy. When we asked him if he would come to the Wembley Cup, he said, I don't go anywhere without Billy as a brand. And there was thousands, if not tens of thousands of people that bought tickets to see them. He could have come and been on the bench with Stuart Pearce or whatever, and they didn't do that. Anyway, so we win that second Wembley Cup, okay? The teams weren't uneven, even without the Billy and Jeremy thing. Stuart Pearce decided to play wing-backs with kids that hadn't played football before.
Yeah, that was interesting from Pearcey.
Like, do you know what I mean? That's the Stuart Pearce. I love you. You've had a stinker there, right?
He's not got the best Wembley Cup record.
No. And then, the third Wembley Cup, once again, not only do we not have Billy and Jeremy, they're the captains of the team now, Town. I wouldn't say it was engineered by them, but it was made very clear that they had to have Steven Gerrard, not us. So we kind of made that the case. They got the best. He was the best legend by far. Of the ones available. He affected the game the most. Unbelievably hard to play against.
We played against him before that in the BT Sport game.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I've still got nightmares about some of the things he did to our players. I mean, we won that game somehow, but he's just another level. He's Dane Bowers, basically.
Most people won't get that.
In the comments, if you get that joke.
Basically, I mean, we're just literally scratching the surface here.
Yeah, there's so much. But maybe it's for another video, mate. Maybe we'll save it. Maybe we need to take a like goal if we need to hit that video.
Well, third Wembley Cup, we won again. And this time we could argue again. We've talked about it. We won because we had we had an actual team. They didn't. But they had unbelievable players. William Gallas, there's a whole video we can make about the William Gallas scenario.
The William Gallas versus Mendieta
how we called him up last minute and we thought it was rubbish because we saw a video of him literally
we talked about
Australia.
pinning back and saying how some of the most interesting stuff happens off camera. Literally in the room behind you, we sat there with a flipboard making notes as to we got an opportunity. We had basically Rio Ferdinand got injured at the last minute, so we had to find a new player to play on our team. And we were literally talking to agents all day. I was ringing agents all day and finding out which players we can get available, which one lived in the London-based area. We ended up with a short list of about 3 or 4 legends, and we were literally going on Google and YouTube to find recent clips of them playing since they've retired or since their last their last game, to see who was the best one to get. What a ridiculous situation. We talked about in another video how hashtag began and all the findings of it, to get to a point where you and I are sitting there. Which World Cup winner do we sign?
I know. But to be fair, there's a video of him playing in the A-League in Australia, and he's literally the worst 5 seconds of football I've ever seen.
Goal ever, didn't he?
He missed the ball like 3 times. And I was like, Gallas is done. I'm sorry, Gallas, because I doubted you. But I was like, Gallas is done. But then how good was he? Awful. And he was unbelievable.
He was unbelievably good.
So yeah, we won that Wembley Cup. 4th Wembley Cup. Listen, I'm obviously gutted we lost as a competitor. As we not beat by Red Bull, having beaten them 3-0 in the group stage, to then get beat 1-0. Jesse Wallace scores. Yeah. We end up signing him for hashtag, so that's quite funny. But yeah, we lost. We lost the game. It's cool.
I was most gutted because not only just to lose, I'll be really honest, deep down, there was part of me that was pleased in a way.
Yeah.
Because I felt like it was the right ending, potentially, or the right thing to happen for the Wembley Cup, for it to not just be the Seb and Spencer, the hashtag party, and for it to be legitimised as a competition, basically. However, what I was most gutted for was the new boys at hashtag.
Yeah.
And they'd come in and they'd seen us doing all these things, flying around the world with Coca-Cola, doing all these amazing activities, these amazing games, playing in all these Premier League stadiums. They get their chance at Wembley, and unfortunately we lose the game. Didn't even get that extra bit of time on the pitch.
No.
And they didn't get that experience, because Wembley Cup is great no matter what, right? But let me tell you, what's better than a Wembley Cup is a Wembley Cup when you win.
Yeah, I will say that, and I don't want to talk too much in this video. It's already gone longer than I wanted it to. But if there is demand to hear more, if you want me to talk about specifically what happened between us and the F2, because not only would you might want to hear my reaction to what Jeremy said. Be careful to discriminate between the two, because it's not always
it's important to
the
distinguish.
Group.
Yeah.
Also, why that happened, because there's a load of reasons why that animosity existed.
There's a backstory, isn't there?
There is a massive backstory, and it's pretty interesting. I think it'll shed some light on some things.
Absolutely.
So I'm happy to do it. If we hit 10,000 likes in this video, we'll do a follow-up video why the F2 don't like me, basically. And I'll explain. You can be the judge of like who shouldn't like who. But ultimately, on the Wembley Cup, it was an unbelievable thing I've done. One of my, if not my favourite project we've ever done. The 4th one was not the same as the 3rd one.
Was it just because we lost?
It wasn't. Honestly, I've wanted to, like I said, I've wanted to lose most of them. Obviously, if I'd lost one of them, I would have wanted to win the next one again, sure. But, I wanted to lose one the whole time. The loss is not why I didn't continue. I would have been happy to do it again. So much that happened afterwards, like you say about nothing better than winning the Wembley Cup, but how good was our party afterwards?
Oh, no.
That was when I knew we were a proper thing.
Yeah,
our non-league.
So
I knew our non-league thing was off to a starter,
true.
and I really thought we were going to win the league as a result, which we ended up doing in non-league, because a lot of the non-league boys were there, even the ones that weren't in the squad.
Yeah.
We went out and had this unbelievable night. And
as losers.
As losers. And if you contrast that to what happened with the F2 after that game, which I know there's a lot of stories out there already, with regards to what happened in the Wembley bar area and stuff, it tells us the whole story.
Night and day situation.
There's a phrase, clutching victory from the jaws of defeat. There's also clutching defeat from the jaws of victory.
Very apt.
And that's what happened at the Wembley Cup. But listen, the Wembley Cup doesn't have any plans to come back. We love it.
Never say never.
Would I do it again? Yes. If it was all right, I would probably favour the old format.
Yeah, I agree.
As for the Sidemen game, very happy to hear they're making a return. I think they're going to have some challenges with the pandemic and stuff, but it's great if they're going to try and do it. I played in the first one. I couldn't play in the second one because I was abroad presenting something, but I was invited and I appreciate that. Didn't get the invite for the third one, but that might be because I missed the second one. It's all cool. I'd love to play the next one if there's an opportunity. Don't know if that will come, but if it does, I'd love to get involved. But if not, good luck to them with it. Fantastic what they do. That's the true, probably, YouTube charity match that exists. But one thing I do think should be talked about, it doesn't get talked about enough, is we raised over £200,000 for charity as a result of the Wembley Cup. Sport Relief, and the Bobby Moore Foundation as well. So that's a massive
it's a lot of money.
Bit of pride for me about that, which doesn't get talked about. Beyond the views, beyond the experiences, which are personally amazing, we raise money for people. I bump into loads of people all the time that watch our videos that came to that Wembley Cup, because 34,000 people came to the third one, 20 to the other two.
I think over 70,000 people across. That's like filling out a serious stadium over the 3 years of tickets.
If you came to it, you helped raise that money for charity. So thank you. Thank you for the support over the years. Maybe it will come back one day. There's no current plans. We've got our own thing going on with hashtag. We've got a lot of obvious. We've got hopefully an FA Cup campaign this year, an FA Vars campaign, a league campaign in the real pyramid. Would we be in that pyramid without the Wembley Cup? Probably not. Would we be in that period without the support of EE? Maybe not. Nope. So thanks to EE. it's not their fault it's not continuing. It's a credit to them that we had 4 of them.
Absolutely.
And yeah, what a positive thing.
What a great
with
thing
a few negatives that we've scratched the surface on. It's impossible to arrange something like the Wembley Cup and not have challenges and not have negatives. Yeah. I would like to do a follow-up to this because I haven't even talked to you enough about how you personally feel about what happened at the last Wembley Cup with all the comments and stuff that were made, because it certainly affected me, but I know it affected you as well.
There were some things that were very unnecessary.
People can choose what they want to make from that. Yeah. I honestly don't have an agenda with this. If I have any agenda...
The biggest thing is that like someone could literally watch back a second-by-second thing of every private conversation, every conversation between us and the other people, every WhatsApp group, whatever, and there's been nothing I wouldn't be happy being shared.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing. Exactly. And we may well share it. And yeah, I'm only interested in facts. I haven't got an agenda. I'm not trying to cancel anyone. I'm not trying to have any beef with anyone. I'm not going to do a diss track, right?
What?
But, maybe I won't. But I'll just tell you how it is. I'll tell you my interpretation of events. And I've learned a lot over the years. One of them is that everyone's got their own interpretation. But on this subject, I haven't really given mine.
No.
And I think maybe it's time. So shall we leave it to the next one?
Let's leave it for now. See how this goes down.
There's a lot more to be said, but hopefully you found that insightful. Drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments below if there's anything else that's happened at the Spencer FC / Towers that you'd like to have a bit of a glimpse into, and we'll explain it for you. Subscribe for more. Until next time, don't go changing.